In the spring of 1943, the skies of Europe were dominated by the Luftwaffe. German fighters, sleek and deadly, carved through Allied bombers with ruthless efficiency. To many, the arrival of America's new fighter, the Republic P-47 Thunderbolt, seemed laughable. German pilots mockingly called it a flying milk bottle, too big, too heavy, too slow to ever compete with their Messerschmitts and Focke-Wulfs. They believed it was a mistake, a waste of American industry. But what they did not know was that this bulky giant was about to become their worst nightmare. At first sight, the Thunderbolt looked unimpressive. Standing over 16 feet tall and weighing nearly 7 tons, it was the heaviest single-engine fighter of the war. Even American pilots were skeptical. Many complained it climbed slowly and handled like a flying truck. When the P-47 entered combat in April 1943, its reputation sank even further as Luftwaffe aces tore through squadrons of inexperienced American pilots. German pilots laughed. To them, the Thunderbolt was nothing more than a sluggish target, easy prey for their experienced aces. Combat reports from that first month were grim. American squadrons suffered losses. German commanders dismissed the Thunderbolt as another failed experiment. But hidden beneath its bulky frame lay secrets that would soon reveal themselves.
They mocked its size. They mocked its speed. Luftwaffe ace Adolf Golland recalled that his men joked, "It was built by the Americans to carry refrigerators, not to fight wars." Yet this arrogance would come at a cost, for the Thunderbolt had something no German fighter could match: raw power, incredible endurance, and industrial might backing it.
The first sign of the Thunderbolt's true nature came with pilots like Robert Johnson. In one mission, Johnson's Thunderbolt was riddled with more than 200 bullet holes after a ferocious attack by German fighters. His canopy was jammed, fuel tanks leaking, controls shredded. And yet, unbelievably, the P-47 refused to fall. Johnson managed to nurse the crippled giant back to base. German pilots who saw it in disbelief realized that this machine could take punishment no Messerschmitt could ever survive. Then came its firepower. Armed with 8.5 caliber Browning machine guns, the Thunderbolt carried 3,400 rounds of ammunition. In combat, that was enough to create a wall of lead. A single burst could shred an enemy fighter into flaming pieces. German pilots who once mocked the Thunderbolt soon began to fear its devastating bite. In the words of one Luftwaffe veteran, "If the P-47 fired at you, you were already dead. You just hadn't realized it yet."
In 1944, the Thunderbolt received a revolutionary upgrade, the paddled blade propeller. Overnight, its climbing ability transformed. At high altitudes, where German fighters struggled for breath, the P-47's turbo-supercharged engine thrived. At 30,000 feet, the Thunderbolt was king. German pilots, once laughing, were now gasping for survival against a machine they no longer underestimated.
The high-altitude dominance of the Thunderbolt broke the Luftwaffe's back. Escorting American bombers deep into Germany, Thunderbolts tore into German defenses. From these icy heights, they struck with terrifying speed. Luftwaffe commanders realized too late that the milk bottle had become a weapon of destruction that Germany could not stop.
But the P-47's terror was not limited to the skies. On the ground, its legend grew even darker. Thunderbolts turned their 8 guns against convoys, supply lines, and railways. German soldiers called it Jabo Fever, the uncontrollable panic whenever they heard the distinctive thunder of the approaching P-47. Entire rail yards were obliterated in minutes, leaving smoking wrecks of locomotives and shattered supply lines.
By war's end, Thunderbolts had destroyed more than 86,000 railway cars, 9,000 locomotives, and 68,000 trucks. No supply line was safe. To German soldiers on the ground, the sound of a Thunderbolt's guns meant certain death. What once inspired laughter now inspired pure fear. Even Adolf Golland, one of Germany's most respected aces, admitted later, "We made a terrible mistake in underestimating it." What began as a joke had become a nightmare.
tearing apart the Luftwaffe's confidence and crippling its ability to defend the Reich. And behind every Thunderbolt was American industry, the factories that never slept, producing 15,683 of these giants. No matter how many Germany shot down, more kept arriving. For every Luftwaffe ace, America answered with squadrons of Thunderbolts. It was a war Germany could not win. In less than 2 years, the Republic P-47 Thunderbolt transformed from an object of ridicule into a symbol of Allied victory. Where once German pilots laughed, they now trembled. Where once it was mocked as a flying milk bottle, it became the thunder in the skies of Europe, the sound of Nazi Germany's downfall.